Uh, I don't see anyone here.
Oh.
Oh, there's a lot of people here.
Oh, it's not popping up on my end.
For me, yeah, it's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. Woo, 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 and I'm feeling good. Fish in the sea, you know how I feel. River running free, you know how I feel. Blossom on the tree, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good. Dragonfly out in the sun, you know what I mean, don't you know?
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. And we would like to start with our preamble and shared agreements. And so we'll do some introductions in a sec. I want to hand over to Josh and Marcelina to go through the preamble and shared commitments.
Thanks, Anika. Here's the preamble. WESTAF shares a fundamental and abiding commitment to equity, accessibility, inclusion, and belonging. We recognize and greatly appreciate the extraordinary contributions of our team and the impact we seek to have in our communities in the West and beyond. We understand that trust is built slowly with communities we wish to serve that have experienced generational betrayal and trauma. Our shared commitments provide a grounding for generating spaces of trust and safety within our team and in the communities we seek to serve through our work. We are dedicated to seeing these commitments reflected in our work over time consistently.
Shared commitments. We value humility, learning from our mistakes, and asking questions to gain deeper understanding. We feel empowered to hold one another accountable, establish boundaries, and ask each other for help. We lean into discomfort by facing challenges and conflict with openness and grace. We stay present by listening actively, being mindful of body language, and participating to the fullest of our ability. We share from our own experiences and grow as a team through the inclusion of every individual voice. We prioritize accessibility and are mindful of our language and ensuring belonging for all. And now I'm going to hand it back to Josh Alice to read our Zoom forms. Just 1 second. Little technical difficulty on the Zoom side, everyone. 1 moment.
They're there now.
Here we are. Zoom norms. Please keep your microphone muted when not speaking. that's in the far left corner, that mic button. Please rename yourself to your first name, city or town, and your state or jurisdiction abbreviation. And there's an example right there for you. Click on Participants, hover over your name, and click the More button to change. To ask questions or make comments, please use the raise hand function and or write your question in the chat at any time. Click on Reactions in the middle of your screen and choose Raise Hand or click on Chat in the middle of your screen to write your question or comment. Live transcripts, closed captions are turned on, and you can view them or hide them, change the size of them, as well as other functions by using the up arrow on live transcript, which is either in the middle of your screen or behind the More button with the 3 dots on the right side of your screen. And now I'll pass it back to Anika.
All right, I'm going to take us through the session outline.
Yeah, oh, it's all good, bro. I just took a walk back. I mean, you were looking for it. Well, I wasn't, I had to do some calls.
So our goal for this evening, sorry for the noise, is to ensure that this program is, the Cultural Sustainability Initiative is informed by the perspectives of those in our region we intend to serve. We are gathering you all for feedback on the program design, and we will explore your thoughts on the eligibility criteria, the application process, and overall program structure. We want to really learn from and draw from your experience to ensure that the program addresses the well-being of the organizations and the communities they serve. And so now, just after we do introductions, we'll get into a bit of a program overview. We'll do round 1 of the roundtable questions. We'll have part 1 of that. We'll take a quick break. We'll do part 2. We'll have any final reflections, and then we'll talk about next steps in closing. Now I think I'm doing the introductions. Okay, so we're here. So good evening again. I'm actually on the East Coast, so it's evening for me. I am Anika Tanay, Director of Grants, Awards, and Programs at WestStaff, and we thought that we would do our introductions with a little prompt on what brings you joy today. So when it's your turn, after all the team goes, please be thinking about sharing what brings you joy today. And so my role also in this program is to really help to set the vision for our work and make sure that it is aligned with our other grant programs, definitely involved with the research aspects of the program with the Wallace Foundation and their research contractors. And lots more to come, but I will hand it over to Josh to introduce himself.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Josh Ellis. I'm the Grants and Inclusion Manager at WestStaff. And my role specifically in this session will be more behind the scenes facilitation, helping to highlight questions and any other support needed. In terms of the overall program, I was a part of the core team to help solidify the guiding principles and the shared national fundamental elements of this program. And also during this session, my camera may be off, but please feel free to use me as a resource. Ping me or private message me if you need any assistance. And what brings me joy today is how I'm cared for by friends and family. I had my birthday yesterday and I saw a lot of family over the weekend. I went to the spa. I saw friends wish me well wishes. So I'm still riding off of that. And I'll pass it over to Marcelina.
Hello, everyone. Marcelina Ramirez. I am the coordinator for the Grants, Awards, and Programs team. I will have my camera off today, just mainly because I'm going to be facilitating technical aspects of this meeting today. So if you have any Zoom trouble or need to access something, please feel free to message me at any point. And for this program overall, I am helping Anika and Josh really do a majority of that: emails, technical accessibility, filtering through any awardees that we are meeting with, or any kind of grants and just that technical aspect of that organization, figuring out Zoom and Canva, all that fun stuff. And what brings me joy today is obviously my background is Jamal Murray and his winning shots, just FYI. So Nuggets are winners, as you can see. So that's what brings me joy today. And I will pass it to Ashanti.
Thanks, Lena. Hi, my name is Ashanti McGee. She, they. I am the Grant and Access Manager for WestAF, and I'm here as an observer. I know that Josh and Lena are handling most of the questions in the background, but and I'll also have my camera off. But if you do, for any reason, want to send me a message or ask questions, feel free to ping me as well. Thank you. And
All
I
right.
will send it over to Yvonne.
Just before Yvonne comes, I just wanted to give Yvonne a special introduction. Yvonne is our roundtable facilitator for all 5 of our roundtables. And so working very closely with us on this and other projects, and our Leaders of Color Fellowship Program, our Leaders of Color Network, which some of you are a part of. And so I just want to say thank you in advance, Yvonne, for leading us in this session. And over to you to introduce yourself.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I'm Yvonne. I am a cognitive scientist, and I have studied creativity for over 25 years. That brings me joy, to be quite honest. And I feel like I learned something new every day. Prior to founding Muse Research, I was founding director of research and evaluation at the Kennedy Center here in Washington, D.C. That's where I'm located. I studied the place of the artist in society, how to nurture and facilitate idea generation for artists, how they know when they have a good idea, how to know how to replicate it or come up with something new, or when it's finished, how to prepare the public to receive these ideas. So I really study that whole life cycle. And I'm just thrilled to be here. So, and I'm from LA, so thrilled to be with you even more. Thank you.
Thanks, Yvonne. And just by the way, I grew up in Oakland. So even though I'm here on the East Coast, definitely a West Coast girl. And Warriors fan. Anyway, so
It's okay, we can all be wrong sometimes, Amika.
they win once and then they just go crazy. It's okay. It's okay. So now you all are going to get a chance to introduce yourself. I do want to acknowledge that we do have some observers in the room. And you all got that information a couple of emails ago, that there would be some observers, some from our counterpart organizations and so on. And so I would ask you, if you are an observer, please just introduce yourself in the chat if you don't mind. And I'd like to just focus, because of time, on our participants for today. So I'm just gonna call on folks, if you don't mind, just for the sake of time. And I'll just start in my left corner, which is Alan Ohashi. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
I'm Alan Ohashi. I live in Boulder, Colorado, and I'm the executive director of an organization called Boulder Community Media. And we make movies and publish books for, I guess, for lack of a better term, diverse audiences. And I'm happy to, well, I guess what brings me joy and I'm happy is we're about to have a first screening of a documentary movie about the Northern Arapaho tribe regaining land in Colorado on May the 6th. And so it's kind of the dark side of creativity, you know, the business part. So trying to get that squared away. So screening goes as planned on Monday night. Do I pass it on to somebody else?
That is fantastic and exciting. I'm gonna just pass to Andre. I'm gonna go alphabetical by first name, I think.
All right, greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andre Carbonell. I currently live in Denver, Colorado, and I am the executive director of Slam Nuba, which is an organization that is focused in the literary performing arts and been serving Denver for the past 25 years. So we're out here, baby. Outside of that, I am a contract grant writer and I write grants for several different organizations, arts and youth and health. It doesn't matter. If you need a grant writer, I got you. And what brings me joy today, I am going to go to a concert to see this rapper named Mike. Super dope, super underground, and I've been waiting 2 years to see this man. So we in there.
Right. All right, next, Beatrice.
Hello, I'm Beatriz or Beatriz Casagran, and I am the founding, producing, artistic director of Ophelia's Jump Productions. We're a Latina woman founded theater company in Southern California, about 35 miles outside of LA. We kind of work intersectionally, do a lot of Latino stuff, but also queer. And I'm actually, what brings me joy today is we had auditions today for a play that we're doing in November that is going to be in Spanish, English, and ASL. And so I got to see auditions by a bunch of Latino deaf folk, and it was just wonderful. Really, I'm super excited about that project. So.
Wonderful. Hope to have great things going on. I think, Jan, are you observing or you're attending, Jan?
I'm attending.
Okay, there we go. Thank you. Over to you.
Giat kwasana she Jan irony na she kitla cheatney na shlet to headlini bashes chin, tra cheatney dash chedo, tra cheatney dash nala kut aid in the stanchla. Good evening, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jan Iron, and I am Dene, or Navajo as we're called. I'm originally from New Mexico, but I live here in Fort Collins, Colorado. I'm the president of the Northern Colorado Intertribal Powwow Association. We just hosted our 30th annual powwow 2 weeks ago. So, or was it 3? Anyway, I work at Colorado State University, and I've been there for almost 40 years as well. But I am heavily involved in the Native American community here in this area. We do a lot of different things, hosting the powwow as well as cultural revitalization and preservation classes. What brings me joy is I'm finally feeling some peace. We really had a hard winter and really busy winter as well, and spring. And I'm feeling some joy from the peace I'm feeling today, and just being able to share with you my experiences, and also being a mother and a grandmother, and my children and my grandchildren still continuing and learning about who they are as Native American people. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. And Jan, do you also go by Jennifer?
Jennifer, yeah,
Okay.
Jennifer.
There we go. No,
Okay.
you're good.
Okay.
Is Heidi here? And then Maria Acosta. Marie?
Yes, hi,
All
good
right.
afternoon. I think I'm from San Francisco. I live in San Francisco. I'm the Director Emeritus and board member for the Latino Center of Art and Culture located in Sacramento, California. I'm what you would call an OG, 40 years in this world of nonprofit arts, focused primarily on organizations of color, predominantly Latino / Latinx, Latine, Mexican. I am a registered member of the Tongva tribe of Native Americans in California. We inhabited the LA Basin. What brings me joy, what brought me joy and brings me joy now through the rest of the day is watching my 3-year-old grandson and his preschool class walk past my house in the morning. And he was so proud and said, "That's my Aboy's house. That's my Aboy's house." So that is what is bringing me joy today.
Beautiful. Kathleen, I think I missed you. My apologies.
Hi, thank you, Annika. My name is Kathleen Gallegos. I am the founder and director of the Avenue 50 Studio in Los Angeles, California. We are an art gallery, nonprofit art gallery. We focus also on literary arts. We've been around for 25 years. What brings me joy today is visitors, seeing visitors come to the gallery to enjoy the work that we have up on the walls. It's really very reaffirming that people actually want to come out and see the work that that these artists have been displaying on our walls. I should also say that we are a Latina-led organization, and our focus is on the Latino community, the Latinx community, the Latina community, but also people of color. So thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much. And I'm just checking on Luis. Are you an observer today, or are you with an organization?
I'm with an organization. I didn't really realize there was a distinction between observer and participant, but I don't know what I selected when I signed up for this, to be honest with you.
No worries.
Yeah, but
Go for it.
all right. So my name is Luis Antonio Pichardo. I'm the founder and executive director of Distal Arts, DSTL Arts. We're a nonprofit arts mentorship organization that inspires, teaches, and hires emerging artists from underserved communities, essentially mentoring emerging artists so that they understand the ins and outs of becoming a working artist, really trying to combat the concept of the starving artist. We're also a literary press. We publish the work of emerging poets and artists, specifically from historically marginalized communities, which include obviously people of color, but also people from historically, disabled communities that are LGBTQ, etc. And what brings me joy is today specifically, my dogs were groomed today and they smell lovely. So that's definitely bringing me joy today.
Definitely feel that one. Okay, thank you so much. And then I have, is it Viviana? Viviana, am I pronouncing that correctly? And you're on mute, just in case you're talking.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Viviana, and I am the president of the Flamenco Arts Festival, also the co-founder, along with my father, Alberto Pisano, who is no longer with us, but we think of him every day. I'm originally from Los Angeles, and I am now in Santa Barbara, and I've been living in Santa Barbara for longer than I lived in LA. So the organization was established in 1999, so this year we're celebrating our 25th anniversary. And we are an annual event presenting live concerts and educational activities all in an effort to, one, celebrate Hispanic heritage, two, increase the understanding, appreciation, and interest in the art form, and then also celebrate cultural diversity in the arts. So what brings me joy today is the weather. It is really beautiful today, and I was out all morning. And so that was really made me happy today. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think I have gotten all of our participants, and then the rest of the folks are I have shared in the chat. Today, our focus is California, Colorado, and Wyoming. Those are the states that are represented here today. And so I'm going to do a bit of introduction. See if we have on the screen the objective, the program overview. Okay, so a little bit about the initiative. I'm operating on one screen, so we'll just, okay, there we go. A little bit about the can you go back to the previous screen? Sorry. About the initiative. So this program was created by WestStaff with the other regional arts organizations, and the Wallace Foundation, of course, is the funder. This program aims to support arts organizations led by and serving communities of color. Our goal is to understand how organizations support their own well-being and the well-being of their communities. That really is a summary of Wallace's sort of research question. And next slide, please. And who can participate? And hopefully you all were able to look at the overview video. So arts and culture organizations that are nonprofit or for-profit with budgets under $500,000, a minimum of 3 years of programming, and organizations must also primarily serve communities of color and be led by people of color. We've said it twice for a reason. All right, next slide. What does the program offer? So the program has grants, learning communities, retreats that are in person, regular support, monthly check-ins, and research. The learning communities are really about fostering the sharing of ideas and problem solving and network building. So those will be sort of subgroups of the cohort. Grants of up to $34,000 in funding for several organizations in WestStaff's region. Our hope with having 16 states and jurisdictions in our region that we at least fund 2 per state. That is our goal. And so learning communities will work together. The retreats will be in person and focus on wellness, collaboration, and sharing knowledge. Slide. How can organizations apply? So there'll be 2 parts. One, part 1, open to all eligible organizations, will be looking to receive some basic information, demographic information, quantitative information to understand the organization and the communities that served. Based on that, we'll be inviting certain folks to apply for part 2. We have not decided how that's going to be determined largely, and that is why we're getting your feedback. But broadly speaking, WestStaff being such an expansive region, we want to make sure that we represent the diversity that is the West. And so we'll be looking at that, and that's why the demographic information is super important. Part 2 will be focusing on community impact, how your organization can, how your organization benefits your community, and why this program will help you to do that more. So we'll be looking for that. Next. And today, we truly, truly want your feedback to make the program as beneficial as possible. This session will inform the program's design. So Yvonne has a series of questions, and I know because our introductions were a bit longer, but important for us just to build some sense of community. She may call on you just to keep the conversation moving. She'll share more about that. And we may take a few comments and then move to another question. Lena and Josh will write the questions in the chat just so you can see it again. So with that, I will hand it over to Yvonne. And I will also go off camera.
There we go. Thank you, Anika. So, as Anika mentioned, we're all friends, so I would love to be able to call on you. Every now and then you will look like you're about to say something, so I will encourage you and I will ask you to please share thoughts, even if they're not fully formed. We're kind of sharing ideas and thoughts about these topics today, so we invite you to share those ideas, even if they aren't fully formed and you're trying to think it through a little bit. So let's begin with the idea around program design and eligibility. Do you feel the definition of an arts organization of color accurately reflects the organizations you know and work with? So yes, Maria, I see you nodding. Talk to me a little bit about that.
It's very specific.
Okay.
There's no ambiguity. And I think that's very important.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, please, Andre. I see your hand.
So I do think it is clear, but I do think there's room for it to be questioned or misinterpreted. Because there are arts organizations who work with primarily people of color, but have white leadership. But luckily it says led by people of color. But also in that same vein, it might have an executive leadership team that is predominantly white and employees that are people of color. And does that really count?
Team, Beatrice, please go ahead. And then I was wondering if the WestStaff team could share that definition that Wallace has shared with us so that people can see that there are 2 out of the 3 criteria that are being considered for this definition that might help give clarity to this. But please, Beatrice, you had a comment.
I think it's clear. I find sometimes I have been really active over the last several years with in an organization called the ADCA, which is Artistic Directors of Color here in California. One of the frustrations or concerns that comes up is that a lot of us who are of color have an interest in intersectional underrepresentation, right?
Okay.
So my organization I was founded by me and another woman of color. I run it. But like I said, I'm interested in giving voice to deaf people, right? I've done plays that talk to the Black community more, and the gay community certainly. And I find that a lot of the other artistic directors that I talk to are that way too. We're intersectional,
Okay.
and sometimes that gets overlooked.
Thank you. What words do you think we should consider using? Are you thinking, is it underrepresented? I'm trying to make sure I totally hear what you're saying, and I want to make sure I'm being appropriately inclusive of all the groupings you're thinking about.
Well, and I don't know, maybe this is not for this, but it's not just about ethnicity or race for me.
Okay.
It's underrepresentation across intersection of different identities and experiences. Yeah.
Thank you. I saw another hand. Ellen, was that you, or am I just calling on you? Oh, you're on mute though. Thank you.
I would say that it's a, you know, for the definition is solid, but you know, in a place like Boulder, Colorado, or I also do business in Wyoming, where I think people are aware of programs that benefit service to, you know, diverse populations, and I think they don't apply because they don't feel like they do meet this definition. And so I think that places like Wyoming and to extent Colorado is, you know, just can't compete with a very stringent definition like this, where, you know, you might have, you know, well, I don't know, that's just a thought that I have, and maybe something else will come forward.
Sure.
But I would say that my organization was one of the very few organizations in Wyoming, maybe the only one in Wyoming that got funded, I don't know, with the COVID money that came through, whenever that was, 2 or 3 years ago. And I would say that in addition to, you know, serving these groups that provide direct service, what can we do to empower groups that are most of them in Wyoming are predominantly white-led, and so what do we do to encourage them or empower them to step out of their boxes? Because even though their town is 85% white people, you know, no town is all white people. And so what can we do to encourage the organizations to step out of their boxes? Because around here, you know, sitting in this room of Zoom people, this is the most brown skins I've been around in probably a year. And so what can we do to, you know, we have our blinders on because we're looking at other brown skins and brown skin organizations and programs. But what can we do to open ourselves up to be more inclusive of the dominant culture as well, even though they're the, you know, or the other guys. I won't call them the bad guys, but you know, the other guys.
Yes. Thank you, Ellen. Kathleen, I see your hand.
Yeah, I would like to speak to what Beatriz brought up. I think maybe just a word could go into that definition, and that is intersectionality. Because I think I understand what she's saying, that we keep forgetting about everything else. We're very focused on communities of color, and then we don't think enough about, well, within that.
Okay.
You know, so I would agree that maybe just a word, intersectionality. And then Andre brought up a point about administration. And I understand exactly what he's saying. So my question is, can you define administratively, artistic? It says led by a person of color artistically or administratively. So does that mean the board, the executive staff? I mean, what is it all encompassing, that word administrative?
Okay.
Just as an FYI, it does say in the chat, led by a person of color artistically and/or administratively.
And I'm gonna just push back, and I see Luisa's hand, I see Andre's hand, and I like that, you know, y'all are into this question, but we've got so many more questions that will surely build on these. I will say, we're here to get your feedback on what you see is presented, so I'm not gonna say this is how we're doing it. I will say the program is for arts organizations of color. And so if we're talking about intersectionality within that, then, and within the definition that you see in the chat, then I think we're on the same page. Do you want to give Luis a chance?
Yes, please, Luis and Andre. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I definitely agree with both Andre and Kathy about the determination of what would really be equivalent to administrative leadership for people of color. Because, you know, like Kathy said, if you're talking administratively and it's a board, right, a board of directors that's maybe has like, I don't know, 60% people of color and the rest are non-BIPOC, you know, is that going to be classified and considered an arts organization of color? I appreciate the fact, though, that within the definition that's provided in the chat, it says that you need to meet at least 2 of the following criteria. So that does make me feel more reassured that the definition that is being presented to us is representative of arts organizations of color. And then to speak to the idea of intersectionality, I feel like that's the separate question that probably would be better suited for like maybe a different question or a different way of showing other communities that are also benefiting from the organization, because you know there's always the chance that like a ballet folklorico group, you know, which is very specific to one, you know, type of Mexican dance or, you know, whatever it might be, you know, that would be, in my opinion, an organization of color, you know, and it might serve just one sort of niche within that community. But the idea of intersectionality could be a way to maybe encourage groups like that to think outside of just, you know, what can they do for ballet, and also maybe incorporate other, I don't know, modalities of dance, and, you know, incorporate just like the ADA concepts of accessibility, you know. So you know, I appreciate the idea of the intersectional component being added to this, but I feel like, to me, if this is specifically for organizations that are self-identifying as organizations of color, then what's presented as the definition to me feels sufficient.
Thank you. Thank you, Luis. And Andre, and then we'll move to the next question, please.
Yeah, I don't want to take up too much time. And Louise kind of took the words out of my mouth, but I do think there can be a question within the grant application around intersectionality, but having it within the definition or kind of mission sentence of the grant, shall we say, kind of sullies that the fact that this is race specific. It is about that identity. And so when we start talking about intersectionality, in which I'm all for, but it takes the it kind of takes the gravity out of that this was specifically designed around racial injustices in the nonprofit industrial complex. So that's talking about the intersectionality of other identities. That's kind of takes the focus off of it being about the racial identity.
Thank you. Yes, Alan.
Just one last comment about this, but it seems to me that with the intersectionality, I think that's grantsmanship. And if a person can come up with a program that's for people who can't hear very well or can't see very well, that's a creative program that's also race-based, primarily race-based, I think, you know, that's going to be a kind of project that will separate that application out from all the rest of the applications that get turned in. So I think that if it's outlined, I agree with Andre that I don't think we're doing anybody any favors by adding it in. It just sort of makes the decision-making process a little bit more difficult and more too diffuse, I think.
Well, I appreciate that. And we'll be addressing that idea of it, evaluating it, if you were to change those sorts of definitions or add components in a few more sections. So thank you for raising that point. So next we're going to talk about the operating expense budget. Is the less than $500,000 operating budget limit appropriate for supporting smaller arts organizations of color in your region? If so, in what ways? And if not, how can this more accurately capture operating expense budget concerns? And again, it's in the chat. So if you need to revisit the question, it's there for you. So what do you think about that $500,000 mark, Beatrice? Yes.
California peeps, speak up. In California, we are in a special situation because we've had a law called AB 5 passed. And if we are operating legally, let me just say that our budget went from, I think, about 180,000 pre COVID, and then in during COVID, AB5 took effect. And we're, it tripled. So yes, we're under this year. Last year we were a little over. I just hope that people will take into account that $500,000 now, at least in California, is maybe 200 before the pandemic. Because if you're operating legally and hiring all artists as employees and paying everybody the way that the law says that you're supposed to.
Okay. Thank you. Important point. Appreciate that. Thank you. Anyone else? Viviana, can I call on you? You look like you're thinking about things.
Yeah, let's see, 500, well, I'm just gonna talk about, our personal experiences. We're a very small organization, and before the pandemic, we were really working on increasing revenue and doing all those good things, and so that we could diversify and maybe not have so much reliance on grants and that kind of thing. Since the pandemic, we have lost a lot of momentum. Last year was our first year back providing programming. This is our second year. And it has been difficult for us to regain that momentum that we had back in 2019. And that's in all areas. So the 500,000 mark for me just seems, I feel like I have to compete with our budget is really small. So somebody who has a budget of 500,000 most likely may have like a grant writer on staff who can write their grants and spends, all of their time writing a grant. We don't have that. We don't have that, the budget to be able to hire a grant writer all the time. We can, when the money's there, we do, but we don't have a grant writer. We do most of the grants ourselves.
Right, and
So,
I'm sorry, go ahead. I just wanted to point out that Anika did emphasize that the threshold is under 500,000. If
Right.
that's in terms of,
but any organization that's going to be at 300,000 to 500,000, we're still competing. We're not in the same level.
So would you all, and this has come up in some other of our roundtables, would you all advocate for like tiers, like we would have up to 100,000, up to, because of the differences that show up there, that we make sure that we touch those different tiers?
like, intentionally keep them at certain
Yeah,
threshold?
I've seen that in other grant applications where they do have tiers.
Okay,
Yeah, that might help.
excellent. Luis and then Beatrice, and then I see Marie, please. And then we go to Ellen. So Luis, please.
Thank you. I definitely understand, that the costs are going to vary based on the functions of the organization. And also being based in California, I mean, like Beatrice said, it is very, very different. Cost-wise, I mean, the cost of living, if we're going to be talking about equity and giving people equitable pay, those things really do impact us, I think, more than we like to admit. A threshold of under 500,000, I think, could put a sort of almost like a bias, to certain types of organizations, being more favored because they do have perhaps, more staff that they can have on their team. It's not always possible for, like in my particular situation, I am the grant writer, I am the executive director, and I am also essentially the full-time programming person. I fulfill a lot of roles, and I don't have any more than what it sounds like Viviana might experience. And that's as a literary arts organization that provides mentorships. So comparing my organization to a performing arts organization, there's just never a way that I could compete and show how my budget is, maybe more cost effective, right, or more efficient. So it could show my organization as being maybe not as fruitful in its fundraising, or maybe it might, give a review panelist a sense that, oh, I am more efficient with my funding than someone else. So I think the tiered
Okay.
idea is a maybe a positive solution to that, and also potentially having sort of like a designation of performing arts, and understanding there is a higher cost to having performing arts organizations compared to like visual and literary arts. That might be also a secondary solution.
Thank you. Beatrice and then Marie and then.
Yeah, and I don't mean to, small theaters, and orchestras and dance groups and stuff. I mean, some years will hire 100 artists, right? Because we do a Shakespeare festival in the summer, and I am everything. I write grants. I don't have an executive director. I'm the artistic director. I clean toilets. So it's the same as Viviana. It's just a matter of scale, because performing arts is so labor intensive. So I don't know, other than tiering, another thing that I don't know if there's some SMU data arts information or something for applying some sort of factor depending on what kind of arts you're in or something. But I just wanted to bring that up, because it's just we are finding that we are worse off now when our income has more than doubled than we were 4 or 5 years ago, when it was a third of what it is now. So
Thank you. Marie and then Jan, please. And then we'll move to the next question, please.
The question I have is, what are the goals of the funder? Because I think that would dictate whether you'd want to tier the grant proposals or not. In California, 500,000 and below, in my opinion, are small organizations. If you go lower than that, you're going to find organizations that are predominantly volunteer run. I have nothing against volunteer run. They're very community oriented, very community based. So is it the funder's intent to support those organizations that are potentially all volunteer or mostly volunteer? Many perhaps with, just starting out, emerging art organizations? Or is the funder's intent to strengthen existing organizations with budgets up to 499,000, which again, in California, that's a small organization.
Thank you. Yes. Good point. We will include that in the notes, definitely. And Jan, and then Alan, please. And then we'll go to the next question.
So, Marie just described us. We're very small. Everything we're 100% volunteer. No one gets paid, except for our performers that we invite to our powwow, and other knowledge keepers that we hire in the community to teach our classes or whatever. I think I do like the idea of the tiered I don't know who mentioned that. I think that would be an answer to this. But we're very small, and it's really, really hard to compete for grants, especially with those that have grant writers. And as Native American organizations, we're always underfunded. I participated in a study a couple years ago, and we are at the very bottom of all organizations that get funded. So, yeah.
Thank you. Alan, please.
Yeah, I just want to chime in on the tiered approach. In fact, it almost would be like on a regional basis, because, for example, my little organization and all the other little arts organizations that I know of competing against a $500,000 organization in California that is viewed as being a small, sort of insignificant group. I think it's that, I think the comparisons are just totally out of whack when we start comparing things like that. Because, I imagine with Jan and my organizations, other organizations, $10 goes really a long ways in my group compared to a group that has, a six-figure executive director or even a five-figure executive director plus a support staff or whatever. And so it's almost, the tiering it is almost that, if we're gonna just sort of throw it all into the West Staff box and say, okay, everything we're gonna tier. But at the same time, I think there needs to be consideration based on regionalism. Rocky Mountain West is way different than California.
Thank you. We're going to talk about the application process itself. So how would a two-part application process, which includes the screening plus the full application, be the most efficient approach for both applicants and West staff? Do you think that's a good idea? Is that pre-screening going into the full application, efficient? Is it a good use of time? What do you think? Yes, good, Alan. Anyone else? You think that's helpful? Yes, Marie. Excellent. Okay, good. Jan, good. What types of information would be most helpful to gather in the first part of the application process to determine eligibility? What do you think? What would kind of cut to the chase at the very beginning to help with screening so that you know that you're ready to move on to the full application? Please, Alan.
I would say being fairly specific as to, what the letter of intent is, what groups call them, I suppose. What particular things you would like to have in the letter of intent. So for example, you want to be sure that that everybody's answering the same question, what is your mission? What's the purpose of the project? Who are you impacting? Whatever it is, just make this one-page template letter. So it's pretty easy, or 2 pages, whatever it is, but everybody has to kind of follow the same thing. Because I've been a grant reader before, and sometimes people will send in those letters of intent and, it'll be like 10 pages of, I don't understand what they're doing. Plus it didn't meet the criteria because it's too long. And so I think it also that helps the applicant, because if it's a good project, it's a good project. If it's a terrible project, it's a terrible project. And so you weed them through with this one sheet, and it's and really it's the skill is about being a concise writer.
Thank you, Marie.
Something that I've noticed, particularly here in California with the California Arts Council and other funders, is a lack of focus on the art and the artistic vision and the artistic director. What is the artistic vision of your organization? I think that's very important, and I see it less and less on applications to fund our organizations. And it's, in my opinion, it is the crucial crux of why we do what we do.
Thank you. Okay. Beatrice.
I so agree. I appreciate transparency and clarity in like we've all said, most of us are doing 8 different jobs. And so knowing what is expected so that we can plan and get information together is really important. One of the things that I've noticed in the California Arts Council, Marie, is there's sometimes duplication. They seem to be asking the same thing over and over again. So being just aware of who you're asking, because we're all tiny, and this is huge for us. So I'm very actually grateful for this process and the care that you seem to be taking about that. So
in terms of that, I appreciate that, Beatrice. But in terms of that redundancy, what is it that you think needs to be the highlighted information that should be collected in that first round to help you?
I think artistic vision, and to a certain extent, if you're talking about race, then, or ethnicity, how it ties to that, what it is that our mission, what our social goals are, is important. And looking at that, I think is really important.
In that first screening, initial first pass. Okay, thank you. Luis and then Kathleen, please, and then we'll go to the next question.
Earlier in the chat, I believe it was Anika who added the guiding question from the Wallace Foundation, and it reads, how do arts organizations founded by, for, and with communities of color advance their well-being and that of their communities? And I take that to mean that we are, for ourselves, defining what well-being is for our organization and for our community. And I think that if that was something that was included as part of the screening process, it would be in some ways equivalent to asking, what is your artistic intent as an organization? Because we would know for ourselves what is important to our community. But then again, I would also probably advocate for having a question that at least asks of organizations, what is your artistic principle? What is the guiding principle for your organization as an arts organization, and what are you trying to maybe celebrate culturally, artistically, et cetera, et cetera. So those things could potentially be questions or tools to give context to the purpose of the organization, in addition to just our regular mission statement and those simple things that come from us describing our programs.
Thank you. Thank you. Kathleen, please.
Yeah, I would say that demographics are really important. We need to know who you serve. And I think that's, if you're an organization of color that serves those who are not, and you make under 500,000, are you eligible? So I really believe who you serve is really important. Plus, we are not organizations that plop ourselves in a community. We have to be integrated in that community. We have to serve that community. So I really believe I think the question you had,
what types of information would be most helpful to gather in the first part of the application process to determine eligibility?
How are you integrated? How are you helping your community? I think that is vital. We cannot just be an art gallery that closes our eyes to what's going on around us. It's really vital that, what is your role in this community? I think it's very important.
Thank you.
That we bring that out in the very first portion of this.
Thank you. Luis, and then we're going to the next question, please.
Yeah, that actually just reminded me of an application that I did recently where there was a question that was very specifically asking, how do you generate input from the community and use that to make decisions as an organization? And in our practice, it has always been, working with our participants and also creating what I call an advisory board that is comprised of participants from across our entire program selection. And that might be a beneficial question to ask in the first part as well. How do you incorporate feedback from your community in the decision-making process as an administrator or whatever, however that might be phrased?
And what I'm seeing a lot is nothing for us without us, right? So that kind of inclusion, absolutely appreciate that. So one last question before we go to break, I think, or one or two. For the full application, what kind of questions or format would be least burdensome for applicants while still providing West staff with the necessary information? So what packs the biggest punch? What can you offer up during that full scale, application that can really access who you are as an organization to provide the information necessary to evaluate this for the full application? What do you think, Beatrice?
I mean, essays are fine, but work samples, testimonials from community members who work with us, those things that actually show what we do. I think, and I think that, in saying that, I also need to say, that hopefully there's an eye to the fact that most of us don't have, professionals on staff just doing archival, fancy, stuff. So you're going to get stuff that just documents what we do, and to judge the content rather than the shininess of what we submit.
How would you collect impact in that case? Like, how would you demonstrate, definitely testimonials, but I'm just trying to connect it to like alternative forms for the application. How would you connect the outcomes and the output of your work and how it affects your audiences and provide that for the application? What do you think?
I think there's always demographics, right? We do things like, interviews, it's hard in theater. I don't know exactly what your, participation records, interviews of people who have been in the project, feedback. We take feedback information from people about what worked and what it meant to them. But that all gets back to testimonials. At least that's where we're little. So these are the things that we can actually do.
Sure. Thank you. Marie, you have your hand raised.
Perhaps a question asking, what were your programs in the previous year and what will be your programs in the current year?
Okay.
XYZ production,
And why
XYZ
maybe,
event.
or
I'm
how
sorry?
they evolved? Is that what you're thinking? Like, you have a historical, accounting of what you did do last year. Here's what we're doing this year, and this is why the programming has changed. I mean, are you talking about that kind of documentation or?
Yes, and a demonstration to panelists of what you're doing, just what your programming is. I mean, I really don't, I like the simplicity of the application as I saw it presented to us. So I think that you can just keep going down rabbit holes and it can be very onerous on organizations. But things like who was the lead artist on your last program? Or, our main program is just list the programs, lead artist, or list the programs and how many people attended. But I think if there are specifics of what your programs are, this play, this event, this reading, this production in a prison, then the panelists will know. It adds to the information that's there for them to do some kind of assessment.
Okay. What about alternative application methods? What do you think? Do you like the paper pencil? Do you like the online application? What do you think? Is there an alternative form that you're thinking about that would be more ease the burden? Yes. Marie, and then sure.
I find that so complex. On one hand, I would like to say yes, because for some people whose writing skills perhaps aren't as elevated as others, that might be an answer. But at the same time, I work with a traditional arts organization. The gentleman speaks only Spanish, and even in Mexico, his Spanish would be considered perhaps not as eloquent as someone educated in Mexico City. So I don't know how to answer that question specifically. I just know it's complicated, and I appreciate the efforts to try and find ways to even the playing field, because so much is based on the written word and your skills in that area.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Lena, are we ready for break, or should I think I might offer up a few examples, like in terms of video recording of applications. There are different formats to consider. For smaller organizations, that's something that, we can float out there. How does that even sound? Is it a narrative through, just a recording as opposed to writing it? What about different languages? Like, what is it that's going to even the playing field? You're speaking to the point of maybe not English as the first language. So Marie, would that be beneficial, you know, and then Jan and Kathleen, you have your hands raised.
We do have about 60 seconds left.
Okay. Thank you. And we can come back to this too. So, but please, Jan, go ahead.
Is it possible to have options? One of our recent grants that we did, they were doing interviews during mid-year reporting, and it was very stressful for me. And I don't, you know, it was just too much for me. And so I asked if they could have a written report at the end, and that was an option. So just
Well-
whatever we're comfortable with, I think.
Can I ask what was difficult? You know, I'm trying to find a way to help alleviate that. You know, what is it that you found cumbersome or difficult by a mid-year report that we could, you know?
It was an interview. It was talking to someone, and I have difficulty with that. I'm a better writer than I can, you know,
So
yeah.
options. for that.
Options, yes.
May I add something very quickly? In
Sure,
San
okay.
Francisco, the Black community was not getting its fair share of public funding. The mayor hired a grant writer. It over 50% increased the amount of funds going to the African American community in this city because there was a grant writer writing their grants.
Excellent. We are actually at time. Kathleen, can we start with you when we come back from break?
Will it be the same question?
Well, why don't you just go ahead and finish and then we'll go out to break.
Okay, I think options are wonderful. Some people have no problem with a video, and that's fine. I forgot what I was going to say.
That's okay.
I forgot what I was going to say, sorry.
If you remember, believe me, bring it back. It's okay. We can come back to it a little later, okay? But
Yeah, you
good.
can write it in the chat while we're gone or so on. Lena,
Absolutely.
how much time are we taking for a break?
We are taking 10 minutes. Is that still correct?
Yeah, or
Okay.
9 minutes? I'm showing 7:41 my time. Can we say 9
Yes,
minutes? Does that
9
work?
minutes. Please be back 50 after the hour. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
But I think the one area that would probably help us a lot is if we had more board members.
Okay.
And that has been really difficult to do. A couple of years ago, well, not a couple of years ago, it was actually before COVID. We said, you know, we need to increase our board numbers. So we put together a little campaign, we sent out letters, we talked to people, and we spent a lot of time and we got nothing. There was no one who was interested. And to this day, we're still trying to work on building the board. And so I think if we could do that, that would help in so many ways. It would help with fundraising. It could help with, you know, accounting, marketing, advertising, you know, a lot of things, grant writing. And it would take we'd be able to share the work. But right now there's only 3 of us. So board development and is important.
Okay, thank you. And Beatrice.
I think I want to agree with Viviana. Board development, especially board members of color, because we're little, it's a working board. And it's hard to find board members of color who have the time and the resources. You know, it's a lot on them as well. So that is a big deal. Also being able, I would give almost anything to be able to actually have an executive director in our organization, because many of us are all of the above. And so to split our energy and artistic vision and stuff, and the amount, especially, again, I go back to California, but compliance and all the things that are now on our plates I'm finding that is just really onerous on a lot of us, and we're really feeling it.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. What topics or skill sets would be most beneficial to cover in the technical assistance component? Yes, Luis.
I'm don't know exactly where that's referencing. I mean, is that technical assistance provided post receipt of the grant, or is that technical assistance to
Develop the grant.
write the grant, to develop the grant?
Right.
I
To
see.
develop and write the grant. Right.
I see.
To conceptualize, whether it's about conceptualizing the project to be able to put it in the grant, or, you know what I mean? To be able to create the components that go into the grant. Sometimes organizations need that kind of support. So that's what we're referring to here in terms of technical assistance.
I think if I were to try to answer that question, I would say just familiarity with the platform that's being used to submit the grants. In some cases, I have found that certain web browsers don't function properly with particular platforms, but having to re-download a new web browser or something like that, like those minor technical things do help. Also, the ability to copy and paste from, say, like a Google Doc or a Word document into the fields in the platform, and whether or not like spaces count as a character and those little things, they also make, at least from my own grant writing, the process that much more efficient and speedy.
Absolutely. Thank you. Alan, I see your hand.
One thing that the Boulder Arts Commission does is it provides sort of like matching up peers with peers.
Mhm.
And I think that is maybe even more, definitely more effective than having staff members sort of always couching their answers when they're trying to coach an applicant.
Okay.
And so when I do it, for example, I can explain to them about whether or not I think their project stands a chance of being funded, or some ideas that they could do to change their application to make it more fundable, and how things to emphasize. And so I'm a strong proponent of peer-to-peer
Okay.
mentorship. So
Excellent.
rather than having to rely on your limited office staff, what if we were to, provide assistance to, like, for example, maybe, since I don't know whether or not how we compete, but, I'd be happy to, maybe give expertise to someone in Portland, Oregon, or wherever.
Mhm.
And as
Perfect.
opposed to someone in Colorado.
So even if people identify as wanting to offer that kind of assistance, so you do have these folks that identify as volunteers to provide that support, that would be, I'm sure, really helpful to those that have questions. So that's a great idea.
I do want to give credence to Andre's comment in the chat: data analyst evaluation consultants, a program action logic model coach, art organization mentor to give feedback on the applicants' applications before they turn it in.
Excellent. Thank you, Andre. That's a great idea. Anyone else? Yes, I see Kathleen. I see your hand.
I just have a question. Is the data arts, will that be required on this grant?
Data arts, what?
Data arts, where we have to fill out the annual data arts summary.
I don't remember seeing that in the application, but Anika, could you verify that? Yeah, SME.
Oh, no, we're not affiliated with SMU Data Arts for this. Wallace has contracted a research firm called SERP, SERP. And, they have certain questions that they are embedding into the processes along the way, like in the application, and we are, shaping the tone to fit in. They're doing some interviews and things like that along the way, and there'll be informed consent. There'll be an opportunity to opt out. There'll be a lot of steps with that regard.
Thank you. Did someone else have their hand up? I see your, Bibiana, did you? Or Luis, I see you. And then Bibiana, if you had a question, otherwise I don't want to put you on the spot. And then Jan. So Luis, and then go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to acknowledge Marie's expression when SMU Data Arts was brought up, because that is a very cumbersome system that, while having a lot of excellent data, that does in a lot of ways reflect what organizations do, it is a very burdensome report to have to create for funding. So I appreciate that that's not part of this. But there
Good.
was also something that I wanted to just kind of share from my personal experience with having technical assistance, quote unquote, offered through all the various grants that I've been fortunate enough to receive for Distal Arts. Most of my experience within the nonprofit world has taught me a lot of things, and a lot of the topics that typically get offered as technical assistance or professional development, I no longer find useful within my career. I feel like it's a lot of repeated material, and I think that the concept of offering like a mentor opportunity for other nonprofits is absolutely worth exploring. But I'm also sort of hesitant to encourage that as part of this, because that can be very like that's creating a whole other program. But if there's like a opportunity to find funding for that type of thing, and in all honesty, complete transparency, if a person were to pay me to do that, I would be more than happy to mentor someone. Because, you know, as communities of color, we're oftentimes put in these situations where we have to, you know, volunteer our time, or we have to kind of, you know, beg for somebody to volunteer and mentor us. And I've never, ever had a mentor, you know, outside of my very, very first executive director, who was also a Latina in the field. And I mean, beyond that, after that first 3 years of my nonprofit life, I've never been able to find a person like that. So I don't know if that's really relevant, but it is something that I felt necessary to share.
Thank you so much. And then Jan and then Beatrice, please.
I'm already getting anxiety thinking about writing proposals. I'm wondering, how many applicants do you anticipate for this?
Anika, I'm going to defer to Anika for that. Anika, how many do we anticipate, or is there a ballpark?
Miss Jan, I feel like the answer to this question is going to give you more anxiety. I can only say for a recent program, we had 851 eligible applicants.
Wow.
And so, yeah, our area is huge. We are looking at least 2 per state or jurisdiction. So,
Okay. I was I was just wondering, we spend a lot of time, you know, writing these grants, and then I spent a lot of time recently on one, and it was just the beginning, the first part of it, you know, where you submit your whatever, can't even think of what it's called, a statement of interest or something. And we spent a lot of time on that. And then they told us that we were not eligible to continue. And that was really heartbreaking because I was so sure that we would get in. And so I'm just wondering, for people that, if you have additional funding, or if you know, at least give all applicants $500 or $1,000 or something like that. I mean, just to make it worth all the heartache. just an idea.
I appreciate that. We have been coming, I'm just gonna take 2 seconds to say this. We've been coming along with this, designing this program with the Wallace Foundation for about 2.5 years now. And that was something that we spoke about early on. And I'd love to be able to figure that out. You know, that said, I don't know, but thank you for that. Thank you.
There is precedence. I have been in a few competitions where they have paid for the effort. So, I mean, you know, so you're not alone in thinking that, and it has happened. So that's good to know. There's historical evidence to support it. So let's go to the next question about impact and sustainability. In your view, what are the top 3 biggest challenges arts organizations of color face in achieving long-term sustainability beyond financial challenges? So again, it's in the chat. And yes, we know financial challenges are a big one, but you know, beyond that, what are the top 3 biggest challenges you think?
Luis in the chat says single year funding.
Okay, thank you. Single year funding is an issue, yes, because it takes a long time to get things off the ground. Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and I don't want to take away from
Please.
Kathy, who I saw her hand was raised before.
Okay.
But to my comment on single year funding, I was recently, and Kathy was there. I was recently at this big event where all these organizations came and talked about our, the impact of COVID, all of that. And I said to the entire room that no one in their personal life generally plans for a single year with their finances. We all have at minimum a 2 to 3 year plan at minimum. A lot of us plan our personal finances 5 to 10 years in advance. So single year funding and the ability to either count on the same or similar funding, the following year, can put a lot of stress, especially on small arts organizations. And that then translates into the need to sometimes develop new projects when you don't have the bandwidth to do so, because funding is always project based. So there's a lot of reasons why single year funding isn't like going to encapsulate everything behind that sentiment. It is very much about organizational funding, general operating funding, but general operating funding that can be at least counted on for 2 years longer if possible. That's always going to help us.
Thank you for giving voice to that. That's, I think, a really important point. Thank you for that. Kathleen and then Marie, please.
Well, that's the problem with with nonprofits, is that we're always looking for money. And sometimes, all the rejections, and after all that work, I understand exactly what Jan is saying. But there is something that I think is even more important than that, and that is gentrification and how it is affecting organizations where communities are being destroyed, and I think that those with the means need to help arts organizations in dealing with that issue, because gentrification is destroying our cultures and our communities. And we have to get funding from somewhere to help us if we have to move on. So it's hard to even plan for a year or 2 years if you know that your whole community is facing severe gentrification. Will you even be there? Do you apply for the grants? And then what happens after that if you are gentrified out?
So let me ask, is it a location issue when you're talking about gentrified out? When you say that is about not having a physical space to
not having a physical space. And so I would imagine nonprofits need help in dealing, arts nonprofits need help in dealing with these issues in our community that is destroying our communities, and especially communities of color.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think it takes the larger funders to help out, especially communities of color. We're, just like COVID, we're being affected the most.
Sure. And there has been talk about like hubs for different things, like sharing space or for evaluators or for marketing people. So to share resources in that way was another topic that came up in terms of how to address some of those things that you raised. Kathleen?
Yes, I think that would help. But, we have to know a little bit more about who are these organizations, and, how do we help each other getting through this, because we're going to lose, cultural identities in our community.
That's critical. Yes. Marie and then Viviana, please. You're on mute, Marie.
bear with me with my list and then I'll focus on three. Vision, clarity of population served, funder WIMS, using volunteers, best practices, how to use AI. Best practices to me is a difficult one when our organizations hear best practices that are really formed by dominant culture values. So boards of directors, I reject that notion. And I've got 40 years in this business. I heard someone say, let's build our board. They're not the panacea. I know of not one arts organization of color whose board raises money, because our boards come from people like us. We can't pull out those $10,000 checkbooks like the Opera, Symphony, and Ballet. Never has been, never will be. So how do you use volunteers then? Because that's your best bet. Get volunteers on your board, let them know you're here to work, and make sure that that's what they want to do. If they're being told they have to raise money, it will make them feel very insufficient. It will just add to this burden of our already feeling lesser than, because our boards can't raise money. It just piles on that we, we're lesser than. So not the way to use boards in our organizations. Clarity of population served. I find our organizations are getting a bit confused. We have to do everything. And we're not everything. We're arts organizations. We're not immigration services. We're not social services. We're not health and resources. Yes, they all intersect, but what distinguishes us as arts organizations is artistic vision, and then the clarity of the population you intend to serve. Funder WIMS, there's not much we can do about that, but it is such a bane to have to go and, like the California Arts Council that has these horrible applications and then change them the following year. And you're like, you're always trying to catch up. That's it. Oh, how to use AI. It's got to be helpful to us some way, but I don't know.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Fabiana, please.
I hope this fits the question, but when we don't get funding, that is hard. And when we get partial funding, that's hard too, because it means that we have to work even harder to get the rest of the money to do what we need to do. So this year we've applied several times for several grants, and there were grants that we didn't get, and a couple of the ones that we did were just partial funding. Now we're having to look elsewhere to get the money to do our work.
Right.
Partial funding is difficult.
Thank you. So what do you think is the alternative there? Yes, partial funding is difficult. What do you want to see to help with that? I mean, obviously you want full funding, but
well, there's only been a couple of grants that have said you will get full funding. So if you ask for 30,000, you're going to get 30,000. Okay. And the rest are just, you'll get what we can give you, and I understand that. Okay, the money has to go around, right. But it is hard for a small organization like this. It is hard.
Absolutely.
Real
Louise?
quick, I want to give credence to Andre in the chat. High organizational turnover, lack of nonprofit administration skills, mostly ran by artists that are passionate, maybe an accelerated program attached to the grant, funder limitations on budget. For example, Bonfil Staten doesn't fund organizations that didn't have $50,000 last fiscal year.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Luis, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I also wanted to actually acknowledge Andre's comments in the chat too, because they're speaking to, I think, this is partially also maybe Viviana's interpretation of the discussion. I think that depending on the fund's amount, like in this case, if it's a $37,000 grant, that's not a ton of money, but it's going to have a huge impact on a small arts organization. So that amount is, I think, appropriate to have as a full, you're getting this 100% upfront, this is for your general operating costs. So use it as you see fit. If this were, say, maybe a $50,000 grant, or better yet, $100,000 grant, then those I would anticipate being more of like a 2-year, 3-year grant that is divvied up over the course of, the 3 years, 2 years. And then in those situations, I would say, you know, I would benefit from a like 60 to 70% upfront, and then the remainder would be with like a report. Like that would just be my expectation. And the benefit of that is that I can, in my other grant applications, say I have this quantity that is pending that I will be receiving, and that would be used as a matching fund for, you know, whatever that like LA County Arts grant that I'm applying for, you know. So this discussion around, you know, whether it would be best given all up front or, you know, divvied up over the course of the grant period, I think is going to be relative to the amount that is given. And in this particular case, if I'm not mistaken, it would be a 37,000 or nothing, correct?
Anika, did you want to confirm that? 37,000 or nothing?
I don't want to confirm a 37,000 or nothing. I mean, I think it's the up to, I don't know where 37, I think I wrote 34, but I think it's more, I think it's more about up to, and, you know, given everything Luisa said, it still makes me curious, like, if we tried to have 4 grants in California, or, you know, these are where we get our highest number of grant applications, and then Colorado. So let's say, you know, 4 or 5 and 3 in Colorado, that's going to be smaller amounts, because we're really looking at like 60,000+ per state or jurisdiction. So, you know, so I wouldn't say it's all or nothing, but it doesn't have to be, but I would assume, just like you were just saying, like that 30,000 could make a real big difference for a small organization, and give them ability to leverage for other funds, just everything that you're saying.
Yes, and that's what I was going to say about leverage. And Beatrice, and then Viviana, please.
No, I didn't have.
You're up.
I guess I have a question about why population isn't taken into account when you're, I mean, if 2 grants are available for California and 2 grants for Wyoming and 2 grants for Nevada, you know, it seems like the people in California or Colorado are at a huge disadvantage because there's so many more of us. Just saying.
Thanks. This is an ongoing hair pulling out situation for us.
Absolutely.
We think about it all the time, and we try to adjust according to the grant program. So we will absolutely be looking at that, and we have to take in consideration the applications that come forward. That's a lot why we want to learn from, without overburdening you all in the part 1. We want to figure out how we really see the landscape of organizations. I mean, I don't know most of you, which is a good thing to me, right? Because we're being introduced to new organizations as a regional. So we want to understand, but we also don't want to overburden you with asking you lots of questions. I mean, if it's like, if it's not now, maybe it's next time. I hope that as we build a relationship, which is super important to us, that, you know, we can be building trust in that manner, that this isn't just transactional, but we really want to understand and bring concerns, bring data to funders, bring funders to you all, you know, all kinds of goals.
Absolutely. So I do want to ask about the timeline. Do you think the program timeline, which includes the application deadlines and the grant disbursement and so on, is realistic and allows for effective implementation? And how could it be improved? I know Anika asked about that disbursement, but in terms of the timeline of the grant life itself, any feedback on that?
Can I get a refresher on the timeline?
Sure. Like, what do we mean by the timeline?
What is the timeline?
So the timeline, the part 1 will open on May 20th. We'll have about a month-ish for that. I don't know, Josh, if you have those right at your fingertips, because I'm kind of just And then we'll invite X number, we don't know what that is, to do the second part. We'll make the questions for the second part available to everyone, regardless if you end up being selected or not, so that you know what those questions are and you have time, hopefully, to prepare. And then ultimately we look to grant end of September, beginning of October. And then the program, like with the cohorts and the monthly check-ins and all that, we'll start in early November.
Word. Well, from that, I'm sorry I didn't raise my hand. We'll continue talking. I'm just gonna say it would be great if, September, you know what I'm saying? Their decision could be made and vice versa at the summer, so you still have, a quarter or two, quarter and a half to get it in for the end of the year. But yeah, that's my opinion.
So are you saying that's too fast, Andre?
Oh no, I was saying it's too slow.
Oh, it's too slow.
You want the
Yeah.
evaluation period to be much more abbreviated so that the money comes out. Decisions made faster. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Like end of the
Faster.
summer, ideally.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Well, that comes to capacity issues for us, just in full transparency. Because
Yeah.
we've got other grant programs, you know how it goes.
Yeah.
But I hear you.
Mighty team of five. Mighty team of five.
That's right. I see 2 hands raised. Can I ask the next question and you all can, I just want to make sure I get to this real quick and then you all please don't write a note for what you want to say. But now all 6 of the US regional arts organizations will run the programs in their respective regions. What could be the best way to foster opportunities for collaboration between arts organizations? Do you see that as important? How do you want to foster that? Do you want to have these kinds of collaborations? What do you think? Marie, is that a legacy hand or is that you want?
I'm sorry, it's a legacy hand. Oh, however, what time period are you talking about? The pre-grant or after the grant?
I'm
Is it
talking about collaborating during the life of the grant, like as a grant collaboration. Anika, did you have a different idea of that? That's what I was
No,
interpreting.
during the grant period, which is, a 2-year period, opportunities, as Yvonne's saying, opportunities to collaborate across the region. Is that something that's across regions, plural? Is that something that is important? Everything she asked.
Ugh.
Yes, Beatrice.
I would love opportunities to collaborate in the region. I don't know how, I don't know how useful it'd be really with everything that's on our plate already. To try and also reach out to somebody in Alabama. I feel like the demographics are so potentially so different. I think at least for this grant, it's a relatively small grant, not huge. I would like to stay in the region, and I do find it really interesting to find out what's going on in the other Western states.
Okay. Well, to answer Marie's question, how will that work? It requires money, yes, but you're also pooling resources. So that's something to think about. Like you may be sharing an evaluator, you may be sharing a programmer, you may be sharing, so your money may go further. The idea being you're sharing resources. So therefore, perhaps you have a hub for a particular program and you have 2 sites. So that's another way to conceive of this, perhaps. I'm thinking, Beatrice, of Gallaudet over here, for example. Like if you were to partner, I mean, this is just totally out of the blue. In terms of there being a central program that you both co-design, but that you have 2 separate sites where you execute. So you do have a specific hub where the resources are shared, and then you divide, the remainder part to execute. That's another way I've seen this being done. Kathleen, you have a question, I believe?
Yes, okay, so I think collaborations are great. I love collaborations. But my question is this going to be a requirement of the grant?
No.
No.
It's just a
Okay.
question. I think
Okay.
that's a good idea. We explore with you if that's something that you're interested in or if that sounds appealing. So yes, it's no. We don't want to add that kind of pressure here. We're just exploring today. And Luis, you had a question, and then I think I have one more question, and then we need to go to reflections and the next steps, please.
So just quickly, just to clarify that it is regional collaboration is part and parcel of the learning communities. I just want to make sure Kathleen, you knew that part. But in terms of this like national approach or across regions, we're just asking that question.
Thank you, Luis. And then I have another question, and then I
Well,
think.
the thoughts that I have surrounding collaboration and the potential for collaboration really, I think, focus on, as arts organizations, we all are obviously under the same banner of arts, but, to collaborate as a literary arts organization, I can collaborate with pretty much anybody, depending on the like mission alignment, I want to call it. There's different forms of that, but if it were to be like a knowledge share kind of situation, I think that is a more feasible form of collaboration between any grantee within this specific program, which then kind of sounds a lot like, what was asked before about professional development, technical assistance, that kind of thing. And so I think the phrasing there may be, the expectation may be different depending on the phrasing that's used, and that could either throw people. It could make people maybe not want to apply if they feel like they're forced to collaborate. So there's like, different things that I think, again, just the language that is being used, would entail different responses.
Or if there was encouragement or incentive or something as opposed to a requirement. So yeah.
Yeah. And again, just like I said before, the reality is that if you're going to incentivize collaboration, then that would mean obviously like throw us more money. We're always happy to do things for money, right?
Right, or resources or something. Yeah, I hear you. Absolutely. So I'm going to ask this last question. How are you addressing your community's needs and interests through your work? And how has community support directly contributed to your organization's success? So I'm going to say it one more time. How are you addressing your community's needs and interests through your work? And how has community support directly contributed to your organization's success? It sounds like I'm asking this question because each of you have so uniquely talked about your communities. And so I really want to, create a conversation here briefly about that connection between your community. How are you doing that work? And how's it worked out for you? Kathleen, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, we couldn't do the majority of our work without being involved with the community. We look at the community's needs, and so we have our exhibitions that speak to displacement and homelessness, that speak to shelter, that speak to dreamers and immigration. So we listen to what the concerns of the community are, and then we incorporate that in our exhibitions. And I think because of that, we bring more people out, and our shows actually flourish because we have the input from the community about what they want to see.
Excellent. Thank you. Anyone else want to speak to that question? Yes, Luis.
As Andre noted about his organization in the chat, we also work much more on a like community engaged level. I mentioned it earlier. We have our advisory board that is comprised of participants in our various programs. And then also we are very focused on the workforce development side of the arts. There's very, very few organizations that actually teach emerging artists, especially emerging artists of color, and from other historically marginalized communities, the skills that are necessary to market yourself, to treat this as a business, those are usually, workforce development or small business development programs only. And artists, we kind of have to figure it out on our own. So that's where I started the organization, under that principle, and it has always been a core part of our programming. And aside from that, I mean, being publishers, and publishing voices that typically are overseen or underrepresented in literature and poetry, all of that stuff. That is how at least my organization strives to give platform to people who normally don't have one.
Wonderful. Thank you. Jan, and then Marie, please. And then we will go to you, Lena.
For our needs, we started like 30 years ago, and many of our people came, from reservations, and we live in an urban environment. And for whatever reason we're here, we knew that there was a need for cultural something to help our children and our grandchildren learn about their own identities in this urban environment. And so that's how we started. And over time, we realized that it wasn't just our Native American community that we were serving, that it was, the general public, because, they see us as just a part of history that we no longer exist. So we do a lot of educational, cultural presentations and stuff. But our community, Native American community, definitely supports what we do. I mentioned earlier about the cultural revitalization and preservation project that we have, which includes the powwow as well as all the different classes that we have. And we actually stopped for 2 weeks because of things that we were busy doing, including the powwow. And then over the weekend, I got a message from a youth in the community and asking, when are we going to start our cultural classes again? We need these. And it really was great feedback for me, and said, okay, we're going to do it this week. And it's just a win-win situation for us.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Marie, please. And then we'll go to you, Lena.
As a 50-year-old organization, the definition of community has changed depending on who's been at the forefront of the organization. So it started with a group of Chicano artists who were excluded from museums, galleries, etc. Our art was not art, but then shifted to the immigrant community, the preservation of traditional art, for example, because they became they rose to the occasion of the most needy, the least served, the least resourced. Well, many of our Chicano artists had now been shown in museums or were selling their work. And entre nosotros, that's caused a conflict, because now we're being accused. Then the organization was accused of not serving the community. So even within our communities, there are these pugnas, there are these differences. So that is why I'm very interested in vision, because as our organizations grow, they change. They have to change depending on who's guiding them, depending on the needs of which communities we are serving at the time. So the immigrant community is, I think, our most served community, but it's like a lake. You put a stone in and all the ripples go out. So you could say this is our primary population that we want to serve. And there's reasons behind that, depending on the artistic vision of who is guiding the organization. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Thank you, Marie. Okay, so Lena, are we at time? I just want to be sensitive to what you need to do.
Yes, we are at time.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. So I just want to really thank everyone for all your input. This last question is really the heart of what's so vital, that you have a community that you're listening to. That's what it's about for us. If someone, Josh or Lena, if you can just drop the survey in the chat. I did send it to all the participants. If there's still observers in the space, there's also space for you all to give us feedback just on your experience here, any thoughts you've had relevant to your work and so on. And for participants, you also received the payment form. Please make sure to fill that out now that we've completed the session. And Lena will be processing payments as it was indicated on that form. Of course, on your feedback survey, if anything else comes up that you can think of, please feel free to add those things. But at this point, we believe that we've covered the labor that we've asked of you, and so we're not going to be asking you for much more. You know, you'll be obviously hearing when the application goes live and all of those things. Please make sure that you are on our newsletter as well, West Staff's newsletter. And thank you so much for your time.
Andre, did you have a question really quick?
Oh,
Yeah, if I'm already in the West Staff system for payment and all the things, do you need anything?
I
Right.
still need you to fill out that form
Okay.
and tell us how you want to be paid. And you
Gotcha.
can put a note in the comments. I already have done form stack or whatever.
All right.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your feedback and your just vulnerability on this. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you, Lena. Thank you, Josh.
Thanks,
Good night,
everybody.
all.